guy who spoke perfect English, was on his way to the United States, and we got into this discussion, and he works in Seattle for a company called Sum Total Systems, which you could check online, sumtotalsystems.com. And he proceeded to explain to me that they have one of the largest performance data systems that is gone global.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, he said, basically the software, he said that it's divided into 3 systems.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes into performance, definition, and then projection. It's 3 parts. And he said that America is the only country which will open their records into one data bank so any employer can access their total records, which is the medical, legal, high school records, credit, hobbies, your favorite soap operas, whatever. The Germans, the French, the Japanese all said no way to it. And also the French, if you look for data on any French citizen, you'll only obtain no more than a paragraph. But a U.S. citizen will have the full feature. That's the beginning, the middle, and the future projectile, which will assess starting at the young age. It's all about replaceability. So they'll assess your performance, your skill, and then project the future. So America does not. America is the only country that will allow for the projection of a future, a citizen of us. So that is basically where we're headed. So I know that your UK people said one thing, but we actually opened up a lot more than that.
Well, really, similar things were done in the Nazi death camps, and I thank you for the call. I mean, IBM, set up the first kind of calculator tabulating machines, and then based on how old they were, their sex, how healthy they were, they would see how long that they could work in the camps and, where they could be and whether or not they were disposable. So it doesn't surprise me that they're putting similar systems in to the United States and around the globe. Let's go to, what do we got here? Let's go to Matt in California. Matt, you're on the line. Yes, sir.
How you doing, Jason?
Good.
Yeah, I've talked to Alex about this writer before. It was Frédéric Bastiat. He was a French classic liberal theorist.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a part of the French Assembly, like when the socialists were just basically rampaging through France.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to read a quote for you, if I could.
Sure.
Because it kind of it kind of blends in with what Howard was talking about, that you have inalienable rights. And it goes like this: Since the law organizes justice, the socialists ask why the law should not also organize labor, education, and religion. Why should not law be used for these purposes? Because it could not organize labor, education, and religion without destroying justice. We must remember that law is force, and that consequently the proper functions of the law cannot lawfully extend beyond the proper functions of force. When law and force keep a person within the bounds of justice, they impose nothing but a mere negation. They oblige him only to abstain from harming others. They violate neither his personality, his liberty, nor his property. So yet, I love, if people want a good read, it's The Law by Frédéric Bastiat, and it's bastiat.org, and it's basically, true classic liberal constitutional political philosophy. So I just wanted to share that.
All right, thanks for the call, Matt. Let's go to Scott in Washington. Scott, you're on the line.
Yeah, I was going to call today about that View clip. Looks like old Elizabeth got herself a good old-fashioned booty whipping today.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did.
And I saw that live when it went on there, because I normally don't watch that show, but I just happened to push the information button on there, and I saw who was going to be on there. So, I figured, well, I'll see what he had to say today. But what makes me mad about her and people like her who are always trying to use that strong point argument, that this so-called Jack Bauer scenario that, if we don't do that, then, people are going to die, that we have to do that to get the information. And I don't know if you saw the last part of it. I'm not sure if you played that, where she had mentioned something about Dick Cheney was calling, whatever he was calling it, enhanced interrogation techniques. And he said, yeah, that's just another word. That's just a word change that he used to cover his ass. You give me Dick Cheney in a waterboard in an hour, and I'll have him confessing to the Sharon Tate murders. That whole scenario, all that old 24 stuff. That's on TV and in the movies. That is not real life situation, and I'm so sick and tired of people using that as a way to justify this kind of stuff. It's like they're just soulless and have had the life sucked out of them just justifying that crap.
Well, some people are just like that into television. Back in the day, I remember people really thought that Gilligan and his friends were on an island, that the actors weren't really people are so embraced by the television, they believe it. And for them to use the example of 24, well, didn't you see the episode of 24 or didn't you see that movie when? You're right, that isn't reality. That's Hollywood propaganda. That's what that is. That's mass conditioning and brainwashing for the American public so that they go along with it. And thank God we have someone like Jesse Ventura that goes on national television and exposes those lies, Scott.
Yeah, and and the thing of it is, like he was using an example for her. Well, now, if you believe the BS of the Al-Qaeda or Al-Qaeda, we'll just assume for a minute that Al-Qaeda is, these terrorists over in these caves and stuff for the years that they've had these people and doing all these torture techniques. And how come they haven't found Osama bin Laden if this worked?
Well, apparently it's because he's dead. The news out of Hirsch is that these CIA assassination squads that were run by Cheney killed Bhutto, and they killed Bhutto because, this is Hirsch, or I wouldn't be talking about it. And they killed Bhutto because she was telling people that Osama bin Laden had been murdered by Omar Saeed Sheikh, this guy with all these intelligence ties, and also who helped wire $100,000 to the hijackers. So,
I was aware of it. I was just proposing putting that fantasy scenario. If you follow their fantasy logic, that's
it is fantasy logic, Scott. That's exactly what it is. I thank you for the call. We're going to go to Nova, Dan, and Joshua in New York on the other side. This is the Infowarrior with Jason Bermas. Now, folks, I want to remind you, last week in Connecticut, they passed this machine gun ban for children under 16, even for target practice. And the bill passed 139-0. Now, remember, this is to restrict machine guns for everybody. This is to set precedents. And they said they did so because the father had his son at a gun show. The father gave an 8-year-old Ashford boy a Uzi, and he accidentally shot himself. Who gives an 8-year-old a loaded Uzi? And should we be passing legislation based on that? Probably not. We'll be back after this. Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.tv.